One of the things that I learned as a target archer was just how valuable it can be to have a lower poundage bow for getting in numbers of reps during the non-hunting season. And this was something that honestly I never thought was going to help my stamina, help my ability to shoot higher poundage, etc. However, what I learned to realize was a lot of that stamina and shooting strength that you think that you need for higher poundage bows, it really comes from being able to do that effort for longer periods of time. And one of the things that I was honestly forced to do in my target archery life was to shoot that lower weight, because once I started shooting in international competition and the regulations were that I could only have a 60-pound maximum pull bow, which they do that to try to get more people to be within the same type of speed windows. Once I started doing that, I realized honestly how much nicer it was to shoot archery at that lower poundage, much less wear and tear on your joints. Honestly, I didn't have near the aches and pains as shooting some of that higher poundage. So one of the things that I do is my hunting bow is going to be higher poundage. I'm looking for penetration. I'm wanting to shoot a heavier arrow, wanting to keep my pin gaps pretty tight so that 1 or 2 yards isn't a difference of just missing an X. That would be the difference of, an ethical shot or a non-ethical shot. So with my hunting bow, I like that heavier poundage, but I'm also not putting in hours of practice with that type of weight. Now, with my target bows that you see me shoot, if I'm shooting outdoors at the TAC events, I'm normally shooting about 10 pounds less than what a lot of my hunting bows would be. I'll be in the mid-60s for poundage. Now, even though that weight is still considered light to some, it allows me to get more reps in. It still allows me to get those longer distances that I need with a slightly modified arrow that I choose. But it also doesn't take me too far away from that hunting weight, because I still do have some hunts in the spring and I have some weights in the summer. So my 3D bows or my TAC bows are kind of in that mid-60 range, okay? Now, if I look at my other hunting bows, or right now, I just ended hunting season here in January, with a bow that's in the mid to upper 70s for pull weight. But what I did was I just replaced the limbs on my backup 30 down to limbs that are going to max out in the high 50s. So now this is going to be something that I'm going to use for indoor shooting. So for my calendar, the way it works and the way my poundage of my pull works is once the new year begins, so hunting season has ended, I'm going to clean up and put away my hunting bows, and I'm going to get out those target bows. I'm going to start my school of nock all over. I'm going to go back to those basic fundamentals and the principles that I've talked about. I personally like a bow that's closer to the 60 max, if not in the mid-50s. Some of my highest score, or the highest scoring indoor target archery bows I've ever had were 56 to 59 pounds. What's important about this is shooting that lower weight where you can pull it back easy and you can let it down easy. It lets you start to work on that power of 4. It starts to let you do 5 or 6 spots at a time as you're progressing with your stamina. But it also lets you focus on your fundamentals and not necessarily your brute strength for pulling that back. Because once you're shooting up close indoor target archery, you're really focusing on finesse and trying to just put that arrow in the same exact spot every time. You don't have the outside elements battling against you. You're just focusing on easy pull and you're focusing on your mechanics more so than the brute strength of it. The thing with archery is it looks like this super powerful sport. You're launching this arrow a long, long distance, but it really doesn't take a lot of weight to do that if you're choosing a different arrow. And remember, if you're starting this new year over, you're in some indoor leagues, you're doing some indoor archery, you can shoot a slightly heavier arrow and not really worry about the speed as much too. So those lower weights work out really well. If you don't have multiple bows, ordering a set of limbs can really be an easy option. The other thing, if you're considering choosing a lower poundage pole bow and you have your main number one and maybe you only have that number one bow, don't be afraid to find one that's a little bit used. The one thing that I'll tell you is that in target archery, it seems that every single year they're slightly tweaking those target models. Target archers definitely re-up their equipment at a higher rate than the average hunter, so you can find some really awesome low poundage target bows for a much better price as well. So look into it. I think it's going to help your stamina, it's going to help your accuracy, and it's definitely going to help your longevity in the sport of archery.